Hello everyone and welcome to a reading comprehension session based on IPMAT by Quanta. We have 5 months to prepare for your IPMAT exam, and IPMAT, I'm sure you know, is a very very good option. What you get if you clear IPMAT is a 5-year complete degree, so you can do 3 years of graduation in whichever college you like, and if you want you can continue with your MBA after that in the same college as well. You also have an option of dropping out and going for other colleges as well. So IPMAT is actually a very very good career option. It is one exam which will streamline your career. It will take care of a lot of things for you. So as far as the verbal section is concerned, guys, you have the verbal ability part and you have the reading comprehension part in the IPMAT exam as well. What I'm going to do today is basically tell you how we can actually prepare for IPMAT. What are the things that we can do? Now, before I begin, let's talk about reading comprehension. So, guys, reading comprehension is nothing different. It is something which you've been doing in your school as well. If you remember, sixth standard onwards or fifth standard onwards, you have something known as unseen passage, right? You get a passage. Based on a passage, you have to answer questions, right? Those passages were actually rather easy. You saw the passage, saw the question, and you could come up with an answer. But these passages, since you're actually targeting a very good college, will be slightly more difficult. But having said that, guys, you have 5 months and we can really help you prepare very well for IPMAT in these 5 months. So before we begin, let's talk about what are the problems one might encounter while solving reading comprehension. Okay, let's say reading comprehension. What are the problems we might face? I think the first one subject matter or content. What is the topic of the passage? Now, I'll give you an example, okay? Say, I'm a science student. You give me a passage in economics. It will be slightly more difficult for me. But if I'm a commerce student, you give me a passage in economics, I'll probably be able to handle it better. Why? Because of my familiarity with that particular topic or subject matter or content. So guys, subject matter, if you have a good knowledge of subject matter and if you have a good knowledge of content, the passage becomes that much more easy for you. So a lot of you who are from, say, commerce background or who studied economics will probably be able to handle economics better. Science people will be able to handle science better, right? Now, to improve our subject matter or content, information or knowledge, what is it that we can do? We can actually start reading a variety of topics. इसको हम बोलते हैं eclectic reading. So problem of subject matter and content can be taken care of by eclectic reading. What do I mean by eclectic reading? Eclectic reading means to read a variety of topics, branch out to things which you've not been reading. Please start reading a topic which you're not very comfortable with. For example, consider this, all right? I have never read anything regarding psychology, but I'm faced with a passage or reading comprehension passage based on psychology. Obviously, it is an alien topic for me. It will be a tad more difficult for me. But having said that, if I've read psychology at some point in time in my past, I'm not saying I've done a decent research in psychology. I'm saying just I know what psychology works and how it works. Don't you think I'll be in a better position to handle that passage then? Exactly. So guys, we should be able to read a variety of topics. Now, when I say this, read a variety of topics, some of you might face a problem because, let's be honest, all of us are not into reading. All those who are into reading will not face any problem. All those who are not into reading will face this problem. First of all, you'll see things that you're reading are not interesting. Okay? So you can start with your comfort zone reading. Start with reading what you like. But then gradually, when reading is not a problem, when reading is not a challenge, you branch out to other topics. What topics? Where all will you find these topics? For this, you can join our WhatsApp group. The link is there in the description. Or you can also visit the iQuanta website From there also you'll be able to get all this information. So first problem is that of subject matter, content. How do I take care of it? Eclectic reading. Okay. Next, a very important problem that I've seen a lot of students face is vocabulary and grammar. Obviously, this will also be a problem, right? So it's a for most of us, English is a foreign language. So it is imperative, or it is not a big deal if you don't know a word. So we need to work on a vocabulary and grammar as well. Now, what do you think is the best way to develop vocabulary? Well, I think the best way to develop vocabulary is also reading. Why do I say that? Because see, no, man, you don't have to be very good in grammar, but it's good to be good in grammar because you'll get grammar questions as well. So you'll have VA questions which will comprise of grammar as well. So you might as well study some grammar because this will help you with the RCs as well as with your VA. It is bound to improve your score. And grasp of grammar actually does help in understanding RC. Now when I say RC, guys, reading comprehension, the very word comprehension means to understand. Reading comprehension, read something and you understand it. To understand nuances of things, like past tense, past perfect tense, it is better that you have a good vocabulary. I'm not saying it is necessary, but it will help a long way if you have a good grammar as far as reading comprehension is concerned. Now, I was talking to you about how to develop vocabulary, right? Okay, consider this. I'm sure this has happened with you. So you're reading an article, okay? During the article, you come across a word which you've never seen before, right? But even though you haven't seen the word before, your first reaction is to make an educated guess about the word. You try and gauge the meaning of the word. You think about what the word might mean depending on what is being said, what is the tone of the author, what is the context, etc. Right? So that's how you develop vocabulary. Usko bolte hai context, contextual vocabulary. So you don't really need to know the exact meaning of the word, but you need to be able to use that word. Usage is more important than reading. The meaning, right? So when you're reading something, you get vocabulary not only as a synonym, antonym, or definition of the word, but you get the entire context of the word. That's how you develop vocabulary, right? Grammar is also something which you will develop through reading itself. Okay, let's face it, guys. When we're solving a grammar question, more often than not, we don't refer to the rules. We don't think about ye rule pada tha, this and that, this or that. You generally go with what sounds correct. You're like, yaar, ye theek lag raha hai, or this sounds right, and then you mark that as your answer. So if you're reading good copyright material, good good material, good vocabulary and good grammar, you will instinctively grasp good grammar and it will come naturally to you, right? So vocabulary and grammar can both be improved through extensive reading. First problem, subject matter, content, how do you improve it? Eclectic reading. Second problem, vocabulary, grammar, how do you improve it? Extensive reading. Third problem, length of the passage. We tend to associate a lengthy passage with a level of difficulty, okay? Yes, Prateek, you can do that, but that will not give you context. Word power made easy is a different ball game altogether. What word power made easy will do is it will give you, a lot of meanings it will give you a lot of root words. So for that you won't need context. For that, for example, if I give you, There's a word known as bon, which means good. Then there's a word fid, which means faith. I've given you root words, okay? It's not just born, it's ben and bon both. So now, if you don't know the meaning of a word and you know these two root words, you'll be able to figure the meaning out. For example, you get words like benevolent, benefactor, beneficial, bon voyage, bon appetit, so on and so forth. From here you get wireless fidelity, Wi-Fi, fidelity, fiduciary, confidence, diffidence. But what happens if I join these two? I get a word which means in good faith. So this is how, I'm not saying, no, it's not compulsory at all. But the way you will develop vocabulary through Word Power Made Easy, I'm not saying it's a bad book, it's a very, very good resource. But reading is still very, very important. Because here, you know the meaning of the word. Bona fide means in good faith or genuine. But are you able to use it in a sentence? That's what matters. Pratik, I hope I've been able to answer your question. And Ridhima? Yes? Okay. Length of the passage. Now what happens is, when we take a look at the passage, and if it's a lengthy passage, we tend to be skeptical about reading it. हमको लगता है मुश्किल ही होगा. Okay? But ऐसा है नहीं. Not necessarily so. It may be difficult, it may not be difficult. No problem, Pratik. It may be difficult, it may not be difficult. But, okay, let's face it, take an example. Say, a lot of people have started reading in India once Chetan Bhagat started writing. I've seen this trend, okay? Earlier, people never used to read in India. Ever since Chetan Bhagat burst onto the scene, a lot of people have started to read. Why? Because people could relate to what he was writing. People could see that this is the society they come from, okay? And that's why people started reading it. Something relatable is acceptable. Now, also he writes in very simple language, right? And there is a person called Shashi Tharoor, the famous Shashi Tharoor, right? Now imagine a passage which is, say, 600 words, but it is written by Chetan Bhagat. On the other hand, you have a passage which is, say, 250 words. It is written by Shashi Tharoor. Which one of these two do you think will you be able to comprehend better? Obviously, the lengthier passage which is Chetan Bhagat. So it's not, length of the passage has nothing to do with the level of difficulty. But what happens is, if the passage is lengthy, you end up using a lot of time, right? And time is a luxury we do not have, it's a competitive exam. So length of the passage ke liye, what do you need to do? You need to improve your speed. Now guys, if you have to improve your reading speed, what is that one thing you need to do? How can you improve your reading speed? There is only one way. Exactly. Reading, reading and more reading. The problem was length of the passage will be improved by speed reading. How will you improve your speed? By constantly reading. So guys, you need to understand reading is a skill, alright? I can tell you how to go about solving a passage, but reading is a skill that you need to master on your own. I'm talking about reading only, mind you, not reading comprehension, reading, okay? Now to master any skill, the only way to get better at it is to practice. Suppose I have to learn badminton. Can I read a book and learn to play badminton? No, right? I will have to go into the court, I will have to actually play badminton to be able to learn badminton. Otherwise, I can't do it. So there are no shortcuts. You'll have to actually perform the skill to be able to learn it. And how do I get better at badminton? Can I go to the gym and get better at badminton? No. For that also, I'll have to be in the court. I'll have to practice. The more I practice, the better I get. So guys, you have 5 months. If you are not reading regularly right now, please start reading right away. As I said, you can come to us for help. You can join the WhatsApp group. The link is there in the description, or you can visit the iQuanta website. We've got great mentors here. Okay, we've got a lot of people from B schools. In fact, all of them are from top B schools. They will be able to guide you there, and of course, we'll be able to take good care of you. Right? You make sure you're solving 2 passages. You're doing a bit of VA every day, some math, and you will get along well with it. To know more, you should be aware that we are also taking out quant marathons. They are going on regularly, simultaneously as we speak. Aditya, that is another problem which happens because of length of the passage. What you're talking about is known as regression. Okay, that happened because you're not in the habit of reading. That happens because you're not in the habit of reading. Do you ever forget a conversation like, say you have a lengthy conversation with me, you won't forget it, right? Because it is like within you, you've absorbed it. So when you're reading a passage, you should be reading a passage as if you're having a conversation with the author. Question everything, question logic, question his rationale. And that way you'll be able to remember the passage better. As far as what your problem is concerned is, don't worry about it. It will get better with time. Keep practicing reading. Okay, so I've told you reading is a skill. You have to master it on your own. We'll guide you, but you make sure you're reading every day. What kind of passages to read? We'll be more than happy to help you. As I said, you can just join the WhatsApp group. The link is there in the description, and we'll be able to guide you from there. Right? We have the length of the passage. Okay. Fourth. Now, when you used to read your unseen passage, the questions were very direct. So you could look at the question, go back to the passage and find the answer. It was really that simple. Nowadays, because you're preparing for a competitive exam, it will not be that simple. You will have explicit questions, you will have implicit questions. Explicit questions are direct questions. Implicit questions are questions which are not direct, which are implied. Okay, I'll give you a very basic example. So for some questions you can go back to the passage and find the answer. For others, you will have to understand the passage. For example, if the question is, give a suitable title for the passage. Do you think there is any point in reading the passage again? No. Either you understood it or you haven't. Yes? So guys, I've given you a brief introduction as to what are the problems you might encounter in RC. First, subject matter, solution, reading. Second, vocabulary grammar, solution, reading. Third, length of the passage, solution, reading. Types of questions, we'll get to it later. So, in a nutshell, if I talk about reading comprehension, how to improve your reading comprehension, the answer is by reading more. By making sure we read a variety of topics. By making sure we don't miss out on the new words that we come across while reading the passage. By making sure that we make a constant effort to read faster. Do these 3 things and you'll ace your reading comprehension. Well, I will be meeting you 3 times a week anyway, so don't worry about it. We will also talk about VA. Today, we'll take a look at a few RCs which I've taken from the previous year's IPMAT papers. Aditya, have I been able to answer your question? Okay. A lot of students ask me, sir, should we read the questions before or should we read the passage before? I think it's absolutely fine to read the questions before, or you may not read the question before. It depends on the person. Okay. Some people like to read the question before, some people like to read the passages before. You need not worry about it. Okay. Let's take a look at the first passage. Now, if you want to see the questions, okay, what I'll do is I'll show you the questions also, and then you read the passage. That's the first question. That's the second question. The third question. Fourth. Fifth. Let's go back to the passage now. Read this. You have 3 minutes. Then I'll toggle the passage, toggle through, show you the next part of the passage. Read the next part of the passage. I will explain it to you, but I want you to go through it once on your own. Okay, let's take a look at the passage. I think it's a very, very interesting passage. Don't you think so? Let's see. What does the passage say? It says, bananas, apples and avocados continue to ripen after they are picked as in when they are removed from the tree. Cherries, blackberries and grapes do not. The difference between climacteric fruits, the former means the ones which continue to ripen. These are known as climacteric. Cherries, blackberry and non-climacteric. Non-climacteric are those which do not ripen. Matters to fruit growers and greengrocers who must make sure their wares are in tip-top condition when they arrive at the marketplace. But how those differences originally came about remains unclear. So we're saying that they matter to fruit growers and greengrocers, those who are selling those fruits. They need to ensure that those fruits are in a good condition when they reach. Okay? Alright, but we are saying how those differences originally came about. So why are fruits, there are some fruits which continue to ripen after being plucked and some of them which do not ripen. We are questioning how and why this happened. Two biologists of the University of Tokyo offer a suggestion. Fruits, they observe, exist to solve a problem faced by all plants, how best to spread their progeny around. Yes, how to spread their progeny around. I mean, how do they go about increasing their species? Wrapping their seeds in a sugary pulp to provide a tasty meal serves as a way to get animals to do this for them. How? Animals will eat the fruit and they will remove the seed from in their excreta and they will place it somewhere and the fruit will grow. They do, however, need to make sure that the fruits favor the animals most likely to do the distributing. So there are two types of animals. Animals which are on land and there are animals who fly. The biologists propose that climacterism or its absence is a way to achieve this. Fruit being climacteric or not is a way to achieve it. If ground-dwelling animals are the main distributors, then the continuing ripening of falling fruit is beneficial. Right? If ground-dwelling animals are the main distributors, then the continuing ripening of fallen fruit is beneficial. They'll see a fruit fallen on the ground and they'll eat it. If it does not keep on ripening, they'll probably not eat the fruit because it has fallen on the ground and it will start rotting. If by contrast those distributors are arboreal or aerial, arboreal are those animals which live on land as well as trees, like monkeys, are arboreal or aerial and so can feed on unfallen fruit, then non-climacteric fruits will do well. Very interesting. So animals who live on land need their fruits to continue ripening so they do not rot. But animals who pluck their fruits from probably a plant or a tree need not to do that because they pluck it directly and eat it. To test their idea, two researchers studied 80 varieties of fruits and noted which animals each depended on for its propagation. 35 of these fruits eaten by both ground-dwelling animals and arboreal or aerial animals were non-climacteric. Further, 15 of the 19 varieties eaten principally by ground dwellers were climacteric, as in they continued to ripen even after falling, while 21 of the 26 fed on by arboreal or aerial animals were non-climacteric. Very interesting. That is a suggestively strong correlation, and the author's hypothesis is fortified by other evidence. They point out that non-climacteric fruits tend to have vivid colors, especially reds and purples, right? This may help them to stand out amid the foliage and their parent plants, advertising their presence. So, arboreal animals are able to easily spot these fruits on trees. Climacteric fruits are generally better camouflage, that makes them harder to spot until they have fallen to the ground, because until they have until they are ripe, they will not be eaten, so they should not fall on the ground, and before their ripening, they should also not be eaten, so they stay hidden. The main limitation of their work is that they looked at fruits eaten by people. This has probably contaminated the sample. For thousands of years of selective breeding for traits that human beings find appealing may have blurred any signal optimized by natural selection. The next step, therefore, should be the analysis of wild fruits. So, we are only talking about those fruits which we tend to eat. And that is where the limitation of their work, the scientists are limited in their work, as in they have only spoken about fruits which we humans eat. To further make sure that they have a right conclusion, we should look at the analysis of wild fruits. If this is the case with wild fruits as well, then of course their conclusion makes sense. So I think this was a pretty good passage, guys. This is from last year's paper, 2022. Let's see. The main point the writer makes is that fruit-bearing plants of all kinds need to be studied, not just consumed by humans. No, that's not the main point. We're talking about an analysis. B says, and other plant species propagation cannot be studied accurately. No, we can't say that it cannot be studied accurately. C says, are better protected than other plant species and can propagate easily. There is no comparison. Have the same problems in propagation as other plants. Yes, exactly. Main point of the writer makes is that fruit-bearing plants have the same problem in propagation as other plants. Clear? Yes. The study has been based on. A says fruits that are consumed by humans. Actually, that is the correct answer. Right? If you remember, this was the limitation of their work. So I need not go further. But I'll still take a look. Fruits available at the University of Tokyo. No, we did not talk about it. Wild fruits consumed by animals. Also not. Fruits sourced by greengrocers. No. The study is based on fruits that are consumed by humans, and that itself is the limitation. Which one of the following options means arboreal and camouflage? Arboreal are tree dwelling, camouflage design. So I think I have my answer as well. I told you this earlier as well. Ground dwelling is incorrect. Protected and fortified, no. Covered and variegated, also incorrect. Let's take a look at the next question. The origins of the distinguishing characteristics between the two types of fruits, climactic and non-climactic, are nebulous. Nebulous is unclear. Okay, so nebula is a cloud of gases, right? So nebulous is something which is not clear, hazy. This could be true. It is nebulous in spite of research, because the research had a limitation that it was carried out on only those fruits which are consumed by humans. B says clear now as a result of this research. Absolutely incorrect. Trivial at this stage? No, we don't know that. Dependent on researcher at observation? Can't say that. Clearly A. According to the passage, the interest in difference between climacteric and non-climacteric fruits is in the commercial context. So guys, the question is, the interest in the difference between climacteric and non-climacteric fruits is in the environmental context, gastronomical context, public health? No, it is in the commercial context. Right? I think it was a very interesting passage. I think we have a little more time. Let's try one more passage. Again, I'll show you the questions one before we read the passage. First question. Second question. Third question. Fourth. Fifth. Let's read the passage. This is the second page. Another 2 minutes. We'll start the discussion. Okay. So the passage is about vaccination. You must have realized by now how it came into existence. On the 14th of May 1796, vaccine matter was taken from the hand of a dairy maid, Saranyar, so something was taken from the hand of a dairy maid and inserted by 2 superficial incisions in the arms of James Philip Phipps, a healthy boy about 8 years of age. The boy went through an attack of cowpox as expected. After this, however, it was necessary to determine whether he was protected from smallpox. After waiting 2 months, Jenner inoculated him with material from a smallpox patient. He was delighted to know that the boy was not affected by smallpox. In 1798, Jenner had succeeded in demonstrating the protective quality of the cowpox virus against the smallpox by putting on record details of 23 cases contracted either casually or by direct inoculation. 16 of these had occurred accidentally among dairy workers in the course of occupations connected with cows and horses. The rest were done under Jenner's direction. Among the persons inoculated were Jenner's own little second son, Robert Harding Jenner, an infant 11 months old. Jenner demonstrated conclusively that the cowpox protects the human constitution from the infection of smallpox. After Dr. Jenner had made his test, he prepared a pamphlet for publication. He also went to London so that he might have the opportunity to introduce the subject personally to friends and demonstrate the truth of his assertion to them. He remained in London for nearly 3 months without being able to find anyone who would submit to vaccination. Jenner went back to Gloucestershire disappointed. It happened, however, that soon after his return home, a distinguished London surgeon named Klein resolved to make a trial of the vaccine material which Jenner had left with his friends. The patient was a child suffering from a form of chronic hip joint disease. The vaccine material was inoculated and the vaccine vehicle ran rather a normal course and healed fully. The little patient was afterward inoculated with smallpox virus and found to be incapable of acquiring the disease. So far we've seen that he tried vaccination, then he wanted to prove to other people that vaccination works. He went to London, nobody paid heed until a surgeon named Klein did. The little patient was afterward inoculated with smallpox virus and found to be incapable of acquiring that disease. Incapable as in he got immune to the disease. This case attracted considerable attention. The child was in a rundown condition. Rundown means in a very, very bad condition. And the vaccine material might very well have provoked a rather serious local reaction. In a way, the fate of vaccination hung in the balance and good luck was in its favor. Mr. Klein, however, after this became a strong advocate of vaccination and brought it very decidedly before the London physicians. It was not long before the opposition of the practice of vaccination took definite form. One of the best known London physicians of the time, Dr. Ingenhouse, became the leader of a strong faction of the medical profession of London, who not only would have nothing to do with vaccination, but proclaimed openly that it was a dangerous innovation, absolutely unjustifiable, and communicated a disease without protecting against any other. So there were proponents of vaccination and there were opponents of vaccination as well. Dr. Watt from Glasgow blamed the vaccine for the increase in severe cases of measles and measles-related death among children. Fortunately, only a few colleagues were so illogical, and an excellent idea of how much Jenner's discovery was appreciated by his contemporary may be obtained from the number of honors, diplomas, addresses, and communication from public bodies and distinguished individuals which he received. So he received a lot of laurels. Most of the prominent communication from public bodies and distinguished individuals which he received. Most of the prominent medical and scientific societies of Europe elected him a member or sent him some special token of recognition. So Mr. Jenner was appreciated for introducing vaccination. Local reaction, what would it refer to? A. Adverse reaction caused by injection as a side effect, इसको बोलते हैं, right? Like when we were being vaccinated for COVID, if you remember, a lot of people were falling sick. They had a lot of fever. Adverse comments and protests, no. Encouraging reaction from local doctors, no. Local reaction tha, and the reaction happened to the kid. This. D says encouraging reaction from the people of the locality. That did not happen. Jenner received a lot of recognition from medical bodies because, fortunately, only a few colleagues were illogical enough to reject him. Then why? Okay, this is true, as A is true, but that is not the reason why he received recognition from medical bodies. Most of his colleagues realized the effectiveness of his work. Yes, that is why he received recognition. Dr. Watt could not prove that vaccination caused measles unrelated. Medical societies across Europe regularly engaged in tokenism. No, that's not the case. It was not regular. He was a very good surgeon, and that's why he was recognized. According to the author, the main idea in the passage is regarding vaccination, scientific breakthroughs and more likely to happen in major urban centers. Guys, first of all, we're not talking about scientific breakthroughs, we're talking only about vaccination. B says documentation is key for disseminating science. There is no discussion of documentation. C says to explore the causes for vaccine hesitancy. No, we are not talking about causes for vaccine hesitancy. D, chance and risk play a part in the success of scientific experience. Yes, he took a risk. In fact, he even vaccinated his own child, right? Risk, there was a risk and there was a chance as well, but it did prove beneficial in the end. D is the best answer. On returning from London, Dr. Jenner was disappointed because clearly nobody paid heed to what he had to say. His friends responded negatively to the vaccine. That's not the case. He was unsuccessful in replicating the experiment due to lack of volunteers. Right. Without being able to find anyone who would submit to vaccination or volunteer, same thing. B looks good. C says his friends would not agree with his findings on the vaccine. That's not the case. The vaccine did not receive any recognition, rewards or a patent. That is also irrelevant. Best is B. "23 cases were put on record with the objective to explain very clearly why did this happen. The cowpox vaccine protected the patients from another deadly disease, that is smallpox. Yes, A is the best answer. Dr. Jenner was ready to go to any extent, even testing the vaccine on his own son. Yes, that happened. But the question is, why were 23 cases put on record? Why? Just to show that the vaccination is effective. C says accidental contraction of cowpox happens among dairy workers. And D says it is beneficial to immunity if we work with cows and horses. Clearly, guys, the answer is A. So guys, I think enough for today. This was the first class of reading comprehension, and you won't get more than 2 RCs in your exam either. So I will see you soon again. But as I said, please start preparing for your IPMAT exam. You have 5 months and you very well can crack it. Whatever help you need, please come to us. We'll be more than happy to help you. You can find the link in the description or you can visit the iQuantum website for more information. Thank you for joining me. Take care.